So I just stopped back by. So tonight for dessert, I know I kept you guys guessing on what it was going to be, but I thought we would go ahead and do that butter pecan bundt cake. It sounds just unhealthily delicious, and why not? Like I said, it just sounds really good. And it was kind of funny because my good friend here on the channel in our neighborhood here, Donna, had asked me if I'd ever done a butter pecan bundt cake with caramel, and I was like, no, I haven't. I've done a caramel bundt cake. I have done a pecan cake, but never a butter pecan caramel cake of any kind, bundt or otherwise. Thought, ooh, let's give this a try. It sounds wonderful. So I started doing some research, and I came up with a recipe off of like 2 or 3 different recipes. The one I found actually had a 5-star rating, but only one person had actually given it a rating, and it didn't seem bad, but the recipe itself was very hard to grab a hold of. I had to read it probably a dozen times before I had any comprehension of how what they were doing in the recipe, but I figured it out. I think we'll find out. If you are new to my channel, first, thanks for stopping by. I hope you get something out of this video. Maybe check out some of my other ones. But everything we do here on the channel, for the most part, 98% of everything that we do here, we do for the first time together. So I have no idea if this recipe is going to work or not. I hope so, and so far we've had a fair amount of success. And usually when it doesn't turn out right, it's something I've done wrong. Now there are a handful of things that in the past that I have shared that are things that I know and have, eaten or made a million times, but for the most part, brand new. If you are returning to my channel or one of our new subscribers, welcome back, and I am glad you stopped back in and or subscribed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All 3 of those very important, along with the notification bell. That keeps us out in the algorithm, keeps our community relevant to the world. We don't have 1 million subscribers, but we have a lot, and we are mighty for being small, I think, and that's important. Comments always welcomed as usual. I respond to all comments in some form or fashion. If you take time to comment, I should take time to respond, and I do. All I ever ask in comments is you be nice, be polite. It's okay to disagree with me or anybody in the comments for that matter. Just think before you type. Be polite. We try to remain nice on our channel. And that won't change. That's probably the one thing on my channel that will get you barred from our neighborhood. The homeowners association here will kick you out and you will not be allowed back in. But anyhow, I've yet to really have to do that to anybody, maybe a couple people in all the years that I've been doing this, and I don't want to start now. But anyhow, that being said, I will give you all your measurements in cups, tablespoons, teaspoons. I also do grams and milliliters. That way everybody, no matter where you live, can play along. So why don't we head on down here to the counter and we'll go ahead and get started making this. All right, I'll see you here in 1 second. All right, we're down here at the counter. So first things we'll need to do, preheat our oven, 350 degrees. Go ahead and get that going. Then we're gonna have to take a bundt pan, and we're going to go ahead and grease it and flour it. I use butter, and I use a lot of butter. Like that is a little over a tablespoon's worth of butter I smeared on there. And what I'll do is I'll take that pad and I'll rub it around, get it all good and coated, and then I'll take my hand and hit every little crevice, because bundt pans, always have a design, and they can be scary, but don't be scared. If you check out the last bundt video I did, which was oh my god, I don't remember, and it was just recently. It was really tasty, but the bottom came off with it, but we fixed it, right? And you never knew, but it can happen. But that's all right. So remember, butter and then butter again, or you can use the spray with the flour in it, or you can use shortening. Either way, and then a good dusting of flour, is all you need. And you won't go wrong, I promise. Scary or not, it'll all work out. And then we'll need a bowl, and then we'll need a mixer. Oven's at 350 degrees. We're gonna get that to calm down right quick. So we'll need a bowl for our dry and a bowl for our wet. I'm using a stand mixer with a paddle attachment. You could also use a hand mixer. And if you are so inclined and have the strength, you could probably even use a spoon just to mix this all up. Although that to me sounds like a fair amount of work. But anyhow, so with our first bowl right here, we're gonna do our dry goods, and I have a sifter. Well, it's a strainer, but we're gonna use it as a sifter. I mean, I also own a sifter. It's right here. Yeah, and all you do is just put it in there and turn the knob. But who wants to do that? Instead, we're gonna use this. But I've got 3 cups, 360 grams of cake flour. You know, and there is a difference. But we want to go ahead and get this. We want to sift this. And when we sift this, we are gonna go ahead and add, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder before we sift it. A half a teaspoon, 2 grams of baking soda. And if you're wondering why that was in a mason jar, I actually got all this prepped and then had to put it all away. I ran into problems. If you caught yesterday's video at the beginning, you know that I, got stuff going on, still don't know what yet. But I wasn't feeling real well, and so we had to call it a day on it. But anyhow, and then the last dry ingredient is a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now with kosher salt, it usually comes in a large flake. If you can find it in a smaller flake, awesome, but I haven't seen it in years. You want to grind it up, whether it be with like a coffee grinder or a mortar and pestle, or even the back of your spoon in a bowl will work. But we want to get those in here, and we're going to get these sent through our, All right, we got our dry goods all sifted together. So we can go ahead and set that aside, and we can start working on our wet ingredients. Put these in the stand mixer. So the first thing we're going to put in here is, this is just a lot of butter. Like $8 million worth of butter, but not really. It's four sticks, 2 cups, 454 grams, 1 pound of room temperature unsalted butter. If I can get it off the thing here. There we go. And you want your butter at room temperature. Get that, which mine is definitely at room temperature, right? And that's okay. Room temperature is best practice. I mean, you at least want it softened, but the longer you can leave it set out, the better. I mean, really, when it comes to most things. And baking, for sure. So to our butter, we are going to add 2 cups. Yep, 2 cups of, make sure I'm on the right path here, sorry. Yeah, 2 cups, 400 grams of just regular old granulated white sugar. We're gonna go ahead and get that in there. And then we're gonna mix this until it's light and fluffy, right? Just like mashed potatoes. Okay, so we've got this, been running this for a couple of minutes now, and see how it's changed from a yellow butter to a light color, almost a white. Now, I say light and fluffy, but not necessarily smooth, because sugar doesn't turn smooth until it's heated. So when it melts, it'll get there. But now we want to scrape down our bowl. But see how we have like the consistency of mashed potatoes? That's what you're looking for, And in this case, with the butter being warm, it's a really light, truly light and fluffy mashed potato. My grandma would be proud if this was really mashed potatoes. There is that. So now we got our bowl scrape, and that's just to make sure everything's combined. Yeah, and you want to do that often. You want to scrape often. That way you can ensure that you're getting everything mixed together. It's like a little stop and check. So now we are going to turn our mixer back on. We're just going to turn it on low, and I've got 4 large eggs right here, right? And we're going to put them in one at a time, and that way we can just let it, and we'll let it mix until we can't see any more yellow streaking, and then I'll put the next one in. All right, we got our eggs in there, and we got it nice and fluffed, everything's mixed, but we'll once again give it a quick scrape, make sure everything is where it needs to be. You know, and this is almost, when you're making bundt cakes for the most part, it's almost like a traditional pound cake. You know, and a traditional pound cake is literally a pound of each thing. We pretty much almost had a pound of sugar in here. We got a pound of butter in here. We were about a cup off of a pound of flour, but we were close. And we're making up with other things to balance that. Okay, so we got those mixed in. So here's one that threw me off. In this recipe, we're taking one rough cup of our dry mix, and we're going to go ahead and put that in there now. I don't know why that is, because we're not done putting in the wet ingredients. And this is like the second cake we've done recently that's been like this. But we're going to go ahead and get that mixed in on low, so that way we don't poof all over the place. And we're going to get it going until it's combined. Okay, so I just realized that I didn't have my camera on for that last little bit. After we got our eggs in, then we put in our 1 cup of dry, and then we added 1 cup, 240 grams of sour cream, full regular sour cream, and 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla extract at 25 grams or milliliters of vanilla extract, and then we just got that mixed in real good. Cannot believe I did not have my camera on. That is ridiculous, but that's all we missed, right? So we go ahead and give us one more good scrape real quick here, just like such. Make sure we're in pretty good shape. The bowl's getting kind of full, but that's all right. That's all right. This is going to be a good cake. It's going to be a dense cake, which is okay. Most bundt cakes or pound cakes are. There's exceptions to every rule though. So next thing we need to do, last little bit we have to do for the cake batter, is go ahead and take the rest of our dry mix, and we're going to go ahead and get that in there, and we're going to get this all mixed in and combined. Okay, so batter's done, and I may or may not have tested it, and it may or may not taste amazing. But I will tell you this, you should actually test it. I mean, I can't officially tell you that because it has eggs in it, and you should never eat anything with raw eggs. But that being said, I've been eating batter and dough since I was a kid, and it has yet to kill me. That's all right though, just letting you know. So real quick, we have to make, because this is going to be a layer of batter, a layer of buttered pecans, and then another layer of batter, but we got to do the buttered pecans real quick. So I've got 1 cup, 110 grams of toasted pecans right here. I love pecans, they're one of my favorites. And to this, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon, 2 grams of salt. We're just going to sprinkle that over the top of it, like such. And then we are going to put 1/2 cup, 1 stick, 114 grams of butter, melted, over the top of that. And give it a good mix, real quick, just to make sure we got everything coated and looking good. And that way, you know, it'll give our butter also a chance to cool down a little bit, because it is fresh out of the microwave. Yeah, how do you do your butter? I am pretty much anti-microwave with many things, but I like to melt my butter in the microwave instead of trying to get it on the stovetop and end up making a mess. But how do you do yours? Do you melt it on the stovetop, in the oven, you know, boiler? You know, let me know down in the comments below. I think that's a good question. So what we're going to do now, we got that done. We'll go ahead and take our bundt pan, and we're going to go ahead and take half our batter and put it in. We're going to fill it up halfway. It may not be half our batter, but we're going to fill it up halfway. Thing you want to look for with bundt pans and bundt cakes is you never want to go higher than 2/3. Okay, no matter what. Even if you've got enough batter to fill it all the way to the top, no higher than 2/3. You will end up with it overflowing into your oven. I guarantee it. I've had it. Okay, so we got our batter up to the halfway mark, like such. Get it spread out here just a little bit, and then we will take our pecans and we will spread these onto our onto the top of this half of the batter. All right, now that we got our pecans on there and our bit of melted butter, right? We will go ahead and I even that out as much as I could. And it's okay if you push down on the pecans a little and get them in there. That's all right. That's not going to hurt anything. We want them throughout it as much as possible anyhow. But now we can just go ahead and get our second layer on. All right, now that we got the rest of the batter on the top here, we will go ahead and take our offset spatula. If you don't have an offset spatula, you can use the back of a spoon, a knife, whatever you have available, but we want to spread this out smooth all around the top and even, so that way we can get a nice even bake on this. Like I said, you want to make sure you keep it at 2/3, so it looks like I may have to take a little bit off the top here, you know, so that way we don't end up with a mess in the oven. Okay, so got my our batter is in cakes in the pan, and what I did was, after I got that smoothed out, I dropped it on the counter a few times. That way I can make sure any air bubbles that are in there are popped out. So now we can go ahead and get this in the oven. Okay, so we got her in the oven. We are going to let this bake on the medium rack, or on the middle rack in the middle of the oven for about 60 to 70 minutes. Things we will be looking for. I am going to take a toothpick, put it in the center, and much like the Bundt case we've done prior to on this channel, we are going to test all 4 sides. You don't have to, there's no rule that says you have to do that. I just do to make sure it's baked evenly. And then I will also spring test it, right, with my hand. I'll tap the top and it should have a nice little bounce. It should be firm. You know, if it's not firm or it's jiggly in any way, let it cook a little longer, let it bake a little longer. If you feel that it's getting too brown on top, put a piece of aluminum foil over the top of it. That'll give it, yeah, it'll change the way it heats, and it won't give it direct heat anymore. It'll reflect it, and that way it'll still bake, but you won't get it to be it won't get any darker. So when I come back, we'll pull it out to have it cool. We'll toothpick test it so I can show you what all I've just been talking about, and talk about what to do after that. All right, see you here in a second. All right, so we went 65 minutes in the oven, and you know, I tried to create an issue and it didn't quite work. If you notice, when I was putting it in the oven, it was well over 2/3 full. But here's how we turned out, and it didn't leak, and I thought that was quite amazing. Now I did raise up quite a bit above the pan. I mean, and as you can see, it's still a little bit above it, but as it's cooling, it's going back down some. But what it did was, it actually built itself up. That's the first time I've ever seen a bundt cake do this. But as it was baking, it was building itself up on the outside and along here, and the inside was baking up afterwards. So it actually kept itself from bleeding over. I even put a pan in the bottom of it, which is in here, and it's still blazing hot. But nothing. I mean, not a thing on it at all. That's pretty cool. So we went ahead and we toothpick tested it. Like I said, I went through all 4 sides, and I just, in this case, shove my toothpick down as far as I can, pull it out, and as you can see, there's no batter on it. Oh, we got a little bit of crumb if you can see it, but that's really it. And then we just go ahead and test all 4 sides like that to make sure we are still good and there's no batter anywhere, like that. And then let's say you get oh, there it is. Let's say this comes up over the edge, because this one actually did before it started to cool. Now, as cakes cool, they shrink. So all I did was I took a rubber spatula, in this case a little rubber spoon spatula, and I just went along the edges to make sure it wasn't, because it was sticking up over the top here, and to make sure that nothing was sticking on the top. Reason why is, as it shrinks, if it's sticking, it'll hold. You don't want that. So now I know it's going to cool down, and it's coming down nice and even. So I'm gonna let this cool for about 15 minutes, at minimum 15 minutes right here. And I haven't decided yet or not, but I may take this, you know, crustier stuff off. I haven't decided yet. I don't know how we're gonna work that, but I'm gonna let this cool for about 15 minutes, and then we'll take it out of the pan and see what we look like. All right, hold on for me 1 second. Okay, so we let this cool for about 15-20 minutes. And when you're letting a cake cool, especially a bundt cake, you don't want it to cool completely in the pan. What can happen is the butter that you put on there can re-harden along with on the outside of the cake, and that can cause it to stick. But you want it to sit for a few minutes, relax, you know, close in a little bit, and that will help you, you know, that will help release it. And you want it to be cool enough that you can grab it a little. So now what we're going to do is set that down right there. I'm going to take my rack. Can you see? Yeah. Take my rack, and I'm just going to simply flip this over. Now, if I lift this up and it doesn't come out right away, that's fine, but it did. So there we go. Now, let's say we had that on there and it just stuck, right? It wasn't coming out. I could feel the vacuum when I was lifting that up. It was kind of crazy. I was a little nervous. Let's say I want to lift that up. It didn't come up. What am I going to do? I'm going to put it right back down, and I'm just going to leave it sit there. It will come off in time. But what you don't want to do is leave it the way it was to cool completely. This is fine. You can leave this like this and let it cool, and that cake will drop. Gravity will help you along there. But we can go ahead and take that pan off, and there is our bundt cake. I think that looks amazing. You know, now I could take a moment, clean up those edges, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to let this thing cool completely, because we're about to dump caramel all over it, so it's not like you're really going to see those edges, and they're not burnt. I mean, I cleaned some of it off, but even those parts I cleaned off, I may or may not have eaten. But they weren't burnt. Yeah, they were just darker than the rest, and they were taller than the rest. I was trying to get an even plate. So what we'll do is we're gonna let this cool, and then when I come back, we'll go ahead and make our caramel sauce. All right, so I'll see you here in just 1 second. Okay guys, cake is cooled. Now all we gotta do is make some caramel. So, okay, you can see what I'm doing. So small saucepan, small sauce pot. Jeez, oh Pete, that was easy for you to say, not for me. And hey, we'll talk about caramel here in a second. So first thing we want to do in our small sauce pot, or small sauce pan, is we got 4 tablespoons, 56 grams of unsalted butter in there, and to that I'm going to add a half a cup of brown sugar. Now the recipe didn't specify type of brown sugar, so I have got like 3/4 of that is light brown sugar and 1/4 of that is dark brown sugar that is packed. That's 110 grams, and I'm gonna throw that in there. And what we want to do is we're gonna cook the butter and the sugar until it's melted and smooth. Now, when it comes to caramel, whether it's a sauce or you're making hard caramels, there is a million and one ways to make caramel. All of them are pretty straightforward. All of them are relatively easy, and they all do different things depending on the temperature you make it. Depends on the firmness of the caramel, whether it's a sauce or a hard caramel chew or something that you've way overdone and you could hurt somebody with. But you'll look at the ingredients and go, oh, that's simple. In this case, there's only really 4 ingredients to this. You know, that's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Caramel can be tricky, so don't get aggravated. I have many times taken a batch and just thrown it away, you know, because it didn't turn out right, even though it's only 4 ingredients. Best advice, you want to constantly keep it moving, depending on the type of caramel you're making, but in this case, you know, you want to keep it moving, and, you know, a little bit, once everything starts to melt, stir occasionally till then, and a low heat. All right, low heat is key. It's going to take longer to make it, so to speak, but you won't burn it, you know, and you won't overdo it. Those are the 2 most important things to remember. Low heat, you know, take it slow to get it up to temperature, not crank it to high to get it to a boil. You don't want that. low and slow. So let me get these melted, and when I come back, we'll move on to the next ingredients. All right, so we got our butters melted, and we are smooth. That's what we're looking for, right? No lumps, no brown sugar lumps, anything like that. And our brown sugar is pretty much melted. So we've got almost a sauce, and we're still on a low heat. You know, I've got one at right around 2.5, 2, almost 3 on my, if it had 3 in numbers. Now to this, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons, 30 milliliters of dark corn syrup. Right like that. Get all that in there. Maybe. You know, there's a way, much like with honey, that you can keep it from sticking to the inside of your measuring cup, and that's to use the spray, vegetable spray. But I really think it changes the flavor of things when you do stuff like that. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons, 30 milliliters of heavy cream, just like such. And I'll just simply get a small rubber spatula and get that out of there off camera. But and then the last thing I want to add to this is a 1/2 cup, 55 grams of chopped pecans. We're going to put that in there, and then we're just going to give this a good mix, and then we're going to continually stir this so that way it doesn't burn, and we're going to bring this to a boil. Okay, so our caramel has started to come to a boil. So what we want to do now is we're going to take it off heat, grab something to set this on, and then we're just going to stir this, continue to stir for just a couple minutes, and give it a chance to cool down a little bit before we put it on the cake. I mean, we could just let it sit here, but it'll cool quicker if we keep stirring it. All right, so our glaze has cooled a little bit, and I may or may not have tried a little, and it may be absolutely fantastic. So now what I did is went ahead and switched out spatulas, got one that's more spoon-like, and I'm just going to go ahead and take this glaze, this caramel glaze, and we're going to pour it all over the top of our Bundt cake. All right, so we've got all our glaze on there, and there is our finished product right there. I think it looks amazing. I think the sun coming through the window, that morning sun at times hits the back of the house, and it's just crazy. But there we are. I think that looks gorgeous. So as much as I want to just jump right into this, I mean, I guess technically we could, but I'm going to let this sit, and I will let that caramel sauce completely cool down. I mean, it's already getting sticky. It's already firming up, because it is actually a glaze. It's a caramel flavored glaze is what we made. Yeah, which is why you want to pour it on while it's still warm, not hot. Hot is hard to handle. It'll go everywhere. It'll burn you if you get it on you. That's one thing about caramel. You got to watch it. It'll burn you. It's horrible when it hurts. I've been there, done that. Absolutely horrible. So be careful. But we're just going to let this cool down to room temperature, and when I come back, we'll try a slice. All right, see you here in a second. All right, so we've let everything's cooled down now. It's, you know, sticky and solid instead of sticky and liquid. And so now all you gotta do is cut a piece and give it a try. I'm so excited to try this, really. It was on you know, like I said, it's on my 5 things I want to make in the next 5 weeks. And I have a lot of desserts to choose from. I mean, really, but yeah, I will say there's a handful of people in my life, Donna being one of them, that makes some great suggestions. And I will take that. I will take a suggestion every day of the week, hands down. So we're going to give this one a shot. Look at that. That's pretty. A little more of that caramel out of there. Ooh. Right. Look at that. I think that looks absolutely delightful. You know, I would have kind of liked, and I know it did, the main ring of pecans was in the middle like we did it, but I know some of them, and I could just tell by seeing on the sides, some of them dropped, some of them raced. And that's good, you know, but let's give this bad boy a try. I mean, I know I'm going to set it on the side so it's not such a pain. That cake is as moist and tender as can be, but it should be with all the butter that's in it. Oh, Kind of drooling a little, I'm not gonna lie. That. Oh. That is so moist, so tender, and tastes just like butter pecan. I mean, that might as well be ice cream. Really, this would go good with a scoop of butter pecan ice cream, hands down. Yeah. Holy cannoli. One more bite. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Sorry. Got it in my dentures. Getting old as hell. Give that a try. If you like butter pecan ice cream or otherwise, this cake is for you. Because I know I do. And this cake is definitely for me. I can feel it just screaming 300 pounds to my waistline as we speak. And I mean, as you may know, can't really afford 300 pounds to my waistline, but that'd be worth it. So if you do give this a try, let me know. You know, or if you have a similar recipe, or just a butter pecan recipe, a different cake recipe, you know, that you would like to tell us about, or you know, or share. You can either leave a comment down below, or you can check us out on Facebook. You may have the group, Mr. Smith's Kitchen, as always, and that would be fun to talk about, right? I love to talk to you guys. You know, I hope you guys like talking to me too. But let me know if you do give this a try. Next week, I'm not sure what we're doing, dinner wise. Dessert wise, I haven't any clue. We got 4 things left to try. 2 apple dishes and a tiramisu cheesecake. I think that's going to be awesome. It's eggless, and who doesn't like tiramisu and who doesn't like cheesecake, right? I think that'll be wonderful. And I think I'm going to start, every once in a while, I think we'll incorporate a eggless dish, you know, and try to do something without nuts, or maybe with a gluten-free flour, you know, because not everybody can have what we cook, although most things, especially with the gluten-free aspect, you can just change out the flour, and that usually nips that in the bud. But eggless can be a challenge. You're kind of restricted. Pies are a good option for eggless, unless you're doing custard, but all the same, fruit pies are good. I actually have a friend / customer who can't have eggs, she can't have fruit, she can't have nuts, yeah, or can't have eggs, she can't have glutens, and she can't have nuts. But I make her cherry pie twice a year, sometimes 3, but all the same. All right, so dinner, I have no clue. Dessert is going to be one of the 3 or 4. We got the water pie still coming. That is going to happen just because it has become a challenge for me, and I am going to make it work, even if it kills me. You know, this will be one of those ones that by the time I get to shoot the video, I will have made a dozen of them, and I will know what I'm doing wrong, because I am doing something wrong. But anyhow, till next week, I love you. I love you very much. Tell somebody else that you love them and love them very much. They may need to hear it. It's going to make their whole day a whole lot better, and they're going to smile either way it goes. It's going to make you feel pretty good and smile on the inside also. And if you make one of these butter pecan Bundt cakes with the Bundt cakes with the caramel glaze, I guarantee they're going to feel the love in every bite. Offer them a cup of coffee with that, or a glass of tea, or whatever it is your preference is, milk. It's going to lead to conversation, you know, good conversation. And there's enough there. You could easily invite the neighbors, a couple friends, somebody you haven't talked to, guy walking down the street, give a piece to the mailman when he walks by. Yeah, the possibilities are endless of who you can meet with this pie and maintain a friendship with afterwards, I guarantee it. But until next week for dinner, I love you, and I'll see you then. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.